Hey, good morning, everyone. Today is your Tuesday BTC analysis. Prices of BTC currently at 10,138. So let's get to it. I'm going to go through the small time frames to large, and I'm going to wrap up today's analysis in less than 10 minutes. All right. So smaller time frames, 15-minute chart, you could see that prices were trading in this sideways range right here. So we define this as a trading range where we see prices bouncing up and down basically in like a parallel channel. And then once finally prices broke down overnight, our community actually shorted up here right around 10,300. It was actually on the way up, so it did get a bit scary up here, but eventually did come down because I realized that this was, pretty decent size resistance. Okay, so we're in nice profit right now. Prices are 10,144. So from here down, 10,400 is where we short. I'm sorry, yeah, 10,300 is where we shorted. Sorry. So right around there to there, that's about 1.5% drop. So if you're on leverage, say 10x, that's a 15 to 17% gain right there. Okay. All right. Now on the smaller time frames, like I said, 10,400 was the resistance, 10.2 was the support. Okay, and we've kind of broken out of that. Not only do we break out of that, it's very critical to watch what happens after the breakdown. If that same range gets used as resistance, like it's done right here, notice that now it's got potentially further downside, because this is basically now your new double top. Okay, and now the double top is only confirmed when this area is broken. All right, so that area is currently around, as you can see, $10,090 or so. Okay, which is, this area right here is bouncing off this previous resistance where prices finally rocketed through. So this entire move right here, I'd stated in yesterday's video and the one 2 days ago that for the most part this was really a short squeeze. Okay, I did not expect this momentum to continue. I could have been wrong, right? We could have just, sort of not given a crap, went like this, retraced, and then took off. But the volume just did not support anything, in terms of an outsized move like this. Because for the most part, we've been range trading for so long on the higher time frames. At the very least, I would have been actually more scared if we would have had a nice movement up like this, or retrace, another nice movement up, retrace, and then took off like this. That would scare me more, because that tells me that that's a consistent movement rather than some random garbage movement like this. Highest volume we've seen in 1 hour, and then boom, just comes back down, retraces almost the entire move. All right, so currently right now I'd say this is somewhere around the 786 fib where price is. Let's see. Yeah, as you can see, just above the 786 fib. I mean, typically, I guess you can make the argument that somewhere around there is, potential bounce point, but I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. All right, so even over here on the 1 hour chart, I'd stated before that this yellow box has been pretty critical in sort of holding prices up for a good amount of time. And you can see these arrows right here, that's resistance, support, support, resistance, all the way across the board. And now prices have actually broken past that yellow box, which could have been support. Yesterday when prices I think ticked up over here around 10,250, it looked like it's using that area as resistance. Okay, so now that it's used that area as resistance, the new support is probably somewhere down here. It's either the bottom of this this descending trend line that you see that's coming down, or it's this white ascending trend line. Okay, and notice how the volume is consistently red for the last I mean, you could see more red right here across the board since the last 2 weeks, right? So when the red volume, meaning the sell side volume, engulfs the demand volume right here, you can clearly see it's either a sideways trading range, or the bears are actually just taking control. Okay, again, that white trend line comes from back here. Let me see if I can make this a different time frame. On the 4 hour, you can see there's two different trend lines I'm looking at. This trend line that comes from the 9100 low, touches the other 9100 low. I ignore this wick, but for the most part I catch most of this move. And then this right here that we had at 9500, 97.75, and then that So anywhere around a bounce of $10,050 to a low of about 99.50 is possible over the coming, I don't know, maybe 12 hours or so. I'd probably say less, but that's probably the more likely point. And for the most part, what it seems like we're doing is, if I get rid of this line right here and I go like this, right, what we're really doing is we're, in an ascending triangle like this, okay? But, this kind of obviously negates that, but I guess you can make the argument that if we sort of ignore the wicks, we're in a sideways trading range, which is, something I'm more likely to consider. Because what we're really doing is, if what's visible on the daily chart is this, all right, we haven't successfully broken over either 10,400, which is really my daily marker I'm looking at, and we haven't quite broken under 10,024. We also have not closed below this big daily trend line, as you can see, right? First touch right there, second touch, third touch, multiple touches right here, which also happens to correspond with the 100 moving average. So sitting on this trend, this moving average, as well as this trend line, is something that just makes me a little bit more uncomfortable. You can look at this as accumulation or distribution. I don't know which one, but for the most part, this is more, in my opinion, bearish than bullish. Again, I would say, the bullish action will probably come once 10,400 gets broken on a daily, or the bearish action will come once 10,024 will get broken on the downside. Okay. One thing I, particularly like to watch is this BitMEX longs versus shorts, or a total of, the aggregate longs versus shorts. Remember, this is just what's on the order books. It's not about how many longs are outstanding versus shorts, because that's always one-to-one. There's always going to be a long that's selling to a short, or vice versa. So don't think of this as, oh, the longs outweigh the shorts. No. This is just, more than likely what's sitting on the order books for longs versus shorts. Okay, and it makes me feel a little bit comfortable that there's more on the order books for longs, because that means that there's more punishment to go around for the longs. Okay, so if you get caught in a situation where you're catching a falling knife, the longs are going to get punished, right? Another resource that I like to watch is this fear and greed index. I'm sure you guys have seen my old videos many times. I like to watch this quite a bit, because when things do get a bit too greedy, I get concerned and I like to sell out of my positions, because this is where, crypto Twitter starts mouthing off, or people, who are retailers keep talking about how they're going to see Bitcoin at 20,000 or 40,000, in the next month or two. And it gets a little ridiculous, right? And so that's where you want to kind of keep an eye out on sentiment analysis, right? You get to get a read on the market in terms of people's psychology, and this really helps with that. And then this is my trading view chart. Anyone can go on it. Just go to Cryptosomniac trading view, and I put my updates in here. I try to do videos daily, folks, so I do hope you guys share my videos, or you find them useful. As you can see, tons of updates in here. And then our Cryptosomniac community, there's a ton of information here. This is our Advantage membership. All the lock channels that you see are for Advantage members. People have seen all kinds of gains in here. We've started, trading more on Bybit. So I did a Bybit tutorial for our Cryptosomniac Advantage members. I also have a course on Cryptosomniac.com, which you can buy for $10 still. And you can get 7 free days in the Advantage membership just by purchasing that course. So you can learn my technicals that I've taught, and then come trade with us. All right. Back to the analysis. As you can see on the 4-hour chart, nothing really special going on. I think these sort of big, sort of bearish engulfing candles are really the story to tell for Bitcoin for the last couple of weeks. Even the RSI, it's really not doing a whole lot. It's kind of just moving sort of sideways near the neutral territory of about 44 points or so. Nothing too bullish, nothing too bearish, I guess. It is sort of creating lower highs, I guess. Let's see. On the daily chart, I did want to show this again. This chart, everyone thought that I was crazy for posting this chart, but this is, it's important to note how fractals work, folks. And the reason we look at technical analysis through the lens of, history sort of repeating itself is because that's really what technicals are, right? If you believe that, financial markets, assets, and people themselves are prone to sort of, repeating themselves over and over due to fear or greed or panic or FOMO, then you know that this kind of, fractal-like movement, will play out similarly. And I don't know how else I can look at this other than, this big run-up we had in 2017 is almost analogous to what we had in 2019. And so we see this big consolidation that happened in 2018, this bear market, and then a sharp drop-off, which is something that I see right here, right? Now, I know we have a lot of support right here in the middle, right? So we could very well just drop off to about, I don't know, somewhere between 7.6 and 8.5, as I've stated before. So I do agree that that's a very likely possibility. I'm just giving you another possibility, which is that we could drop 50% from here and scare off everyone. Okay, and I mean everyone, because no one will be bullish when price retraces almost 40 to 50%. This is the best way to cut off everyone's hands right here in the longs. It's also the best way to punish every single person who has been so hell-bent on saying that Bitcoin is going to 20K or 30K by the next month or, next quarter or whatever. And I think, that's what markets do, right? They really just surprise everyone when they least expect it. Okay, so just something to consider. All right, here's the weekly chart. Everyone's been talking about the MACD on the weekly, or I'm sorry, the MACD on the other time frames, but no one's looking at the MACD on the weekly, right? I don't even use the MACD so much, but I decided to sort of, throw that into people's faces, because if you love MACD so much, then you should be, utterly scared of what's happening on the MACD on the weekly time frame. This is a bearish cross that's happening on the MACD. The histogram right here has already started to slope negative, as you can see. Okay, so I don't know what to tell you. If you love the MACD so much, then look at it on the weekly. All right, this was an indecision candle, so I do agree on the weekly chart. I mean, anything could happen. We could move up, straight up, or we can move down. But if you love things like the MACD, then you might want to be a bit careful, because it's already starting to flip bearish. And even on the RSI, I mean, a critical level to look at is, let's see, right around this guy right here. Okay, if we drop this pin right here, right, this is support, support, support. Every time it's sort of hit the support or used it as resistance, as you can see, this has really either been, the start of the bear market or the start of the bull market. Okay, you could see the weekly RSI is on its way down. It's nowhere near that 41-point support, and it has a long way to go down, right? So my theory of that, drop to about 5,000 or so could come true. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It's not that I'm overly bearish or anything. It's just that I want you guys to not fall into the trap of only thinking that price could do one thing. Now, I'm well aware that this is a big sort of, symmetrical triangle that we've just been consolidating in, as well as, sort of higher lows like this that we've been doing the entire time. So I'm also aware of the bullish scenario too. But the point is that after 64 days of consolidation that we've had so far, we haven't quite done anything here yet. And also on top of that, if I start to take away that structure of symmetrical triangle and I draw something like this, which I think is also a credible structure right here, a credible pattern, this looks like a descending triangle, which again are continuation patterns, so technically it could continue up like this. But for the most part, the last time we saw a big sort of descending triangle and we retraced for a long time, kept hammering on a certain level, which was the 6K back then, that's the same thing as our 10K over here, right? So we could make that 50% drop like Bitcoin did right here. So it's just that, I want to be aware of all situations before I start leaning too bullish or too bearish. All right. And then this is my other sort of resource that I use. It's, big buys or sells on BitMEX that you get to see. I think they're all over 100K. 100K is a minimum buy or sell that you have to, get recorded on this website. So it helps you understand what the bigger players are doing. I mean, I guess you can make the argument that this is probably retailers going 100x too, but still, these are the people who could potentially move the markets as well, right? Anyway, folks, with that being said, I've talked about the small time frames and large. Really not else to talk about other than, Bitcoin is really just moving sideways. It has yet to close close under this ascending trend line, but as you can see, it's hit it multiple times, and who knows, today might be the daily candle that finally marks that, right? And if we close under 10,024, I think it's almost guaranteed that we're going to low 9,000s. All right. So with that being said, folks, I hope you enjoy my analysis, and that's it. Oh, lastly, sorry, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. All right, that's one thing that I did want to point out is you can see two head and shoulders patterns right here. As you can see, the right shoulder is kind of just moving sideways. I don't really like it when it does that, but it is only just 3 days out of the right shoulder, so it could still sort of just fall on through. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. All right, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. Take care and cheers.